Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for this devotional. Today we are in 1 Timothy chapter 3. I'm going to read verses 14 through 15. Here's the text. It says, I hope to come to you soon. This is Paul speaking. But I am writing these things to you, that's Timothy, so that if I delay, you may know how one ought to behave in the household of God, which is the church of the living God, a pillar and buttress of the truth. So I think this text makes a little transition for us. We can hear a tone of concern in Paul's heart as he writes this, because Paul is concerned that he's not going to be able to make it to Ephesus, which he never does. So out of this concern, he hopes that Timothy can establish leaders of biblical character that will give the church its needed direction. And why? Well, because Paul hears that woke opinions of the metropolis are infiltrating the church, and the church is embracing ideologies that have no biblical basis. Does that sound familiar? It should, because there's a wave of this happening in the church in America today. But then he adds this beautiful metaphor here, which is a bit of a dig at all these woke cultural ideologies. He describes the church as a structure built by a living God on the immovable foundation and pillars of truth. And I'm sure that Paul saw in his mind's eye the temple of Diana. I'm going to put a picture of it, or what it used to look like, on the screen today. It was one of the most impressive structures of their time, and it stood on the ridge of Ephesus for everybody to see. It was listed as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. That's how significant it was. It was a temple with a massive foundation on which stood 100 towering pillars. In the center stood the goddess Diana, who was pictured as a multi-breasted goddess known for fertility, and men would come and they would fornicate at this temple, which is why Paul was addressing some of the issues with fornication in being a one-woman man in the previous text. But in this text, Paul replaces this vivid and familiar image, the one of the temple of Diana, with another. It's a temple not made by human hands, a temple not built for a dead goddess, but a temple built by a living God upon the pillars and the foundations of timeless truth. And then listen to what he says again. Here's the text. He says, that you may know how one ought to behave in the household of God, which is the church of the living God, a pillar and buttress of the truth. Do you see the analogy there, how he's using the metaphor? Do you know what we need in our churches today? We need less culture and more truth. We need less of what's current and trendy and popular and relevant, and we need more of what is stable and unchanging and timeless and trustworthy. But this requires men of truth, who live by the truth, who engage and speak the truth. And that's what Paul is concerned about here. Will there be men who will step up, is the question that lingers in his mind. And you know what? I want to be a guy like that. And I want you to be too. And while you're pondering an answer to that question, I want you to keep something in mind. The temple of Diana is gone. It's gone. It no longer exists. A storm destroyed it. Because that's the end for every woke ideology. It only lasts as long as the next storm. But the living God and his truth, that's something that's going to stand forever. And that's something, honestly, that I want to get behind. So get behind it with me, will you? I love you guys. I pray this blesses you. If it has, share it with someone else. And with that, I'll see you right back here again.